hate us so passionately. So now, this northern part had been destroyed, so one would think these guys down here would have learned their lesson and say, these guys turned their backs on God, that's what the prophets tell us, and maybe we should reconsider what we're doing, but they didn't. They carried on the same evil way down here, and the situation is really bad. In fact, Babylon, from down here somewhere, had come up here. We're not sure if they came up here to the north or the south, not entirely certain. They came in here, and they were destroying everything in their wake, and were now setting up siege ramps around Jerusalem. And the situation is dire. The people are going to die. The prophets tell them you're going to starve to death. The ones that don't starve, you're going to die from disease. The ones that don't die from disease, you're going to be killed by the sword. It's a horrible situation. And it's into that setting that God sends the prophets to issue a prophecy. And the prophecy was that God was going to fulfill his promise to David that someone from his family tree would come to redeem his people. The prophecy also was that he would come to redeem the lost, the last, and the least. He came for those who were the dregs of society. He would not be only for the powerful and the elite. He came for the ones who were at the bottom of the rung of society and all humanity. Now that's what God still does. God still loves to call those who have seemingly nothing to offer. That's his specialty. Taking those who have nothing to offer, changing them, and making them trophies of his grace. This is how Peter, or Paul rather, reported to the Corinthians. He said, brothers and sisters, if you think you have nothing to offer and you're just a no-name garden variety flower that has nothing for anyone, you're in a good place. When you acknowledge that and you just ask Jesus, here's my life, here's my heart, here's all that I have, I'm inviting you to use me any way you want. God has ways of taking those of us who think that we are nothing and turning us into men and women who make an impact in the world for Jesus' sake. Now, this ruler, who was prophesied 700 years before he was born, was promised as one who would bring peace. I don't have a slide for this, guys, even though it's marked, all right? It's out of Isaiah 9, 6, and 7. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom from Jerusalem, we might add, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. This king who is going to come, he is going to come and rule in Jerusalem. The peace was going to sort of spread across the whole world. He was going to govern, and that peace was going to carry on forever. And when he was born at the place that Micah prophesied it would happen, the angels all were ecstatic, and they joined in this great chorus announcing his birth. Finally, the peace giver had arrived. And there were shepherds living out in the Micah told us that this one was the one whom he identified as he, this person. He will be our peace. Peace to those on whom his favor rests, as the translation reads. That day that had been prophesied had finally come about 2,000 years ago. But it's not world peace that was going to come. It was going to be an individual peace which was going to spread out and cause a world peace. We're still waiting for that day. That day is still coming. What will that day look like? Well, Isaiah gives us a pretty good idea of what that day is going to look like. We have a lot to look forward to. Isaiah puts it this way. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. This is Isaiah 11. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him. The Spirit of wisdom and of understanding. The Spirit of counsel and power. The Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. And he will delight in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge by what he sees with his eyes, or decide by what he hears with his ears, but with righteousness he will judge the needy. With justice he will give decisions for the poor of the earth. He will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth. With the breath of his lips he will slay the wicked. Righteousness will be his belt, and faithfulness the sash around his waist. At that time the wolf will live with the lamb. The leopard will lie down with the goat, and the calf and the lion and the yearling together, and a little child will lead them. The cow will feed with the bear. Their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. The infant will play near the hole of the cobra, and the young child put his hand into the viper's nest. There will neither harm nor destroy. They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. In that day the root of Jesse will stand as a banner for the peoples. The nations will rally to him, and his place of rest will be glorious. May that day come quickly. What a time that is going to be. We're still waiting for it. We're still looking for that Prince of Peace to come establish and bring that final peace that he promised he was going to bring, but which was rejected by all of the rulers in Israel. So if the peace among the nations is still to come, what is the nature of the peace he came to bring us today? And the answer to that question is, the peace of Christmas is about peace with God. Is about peace with God. Jesus was born so that we can be reconciled to God through him. And when we accept that gift of